This is it guys, the all-new Mercedes-Benz EQE, fresh from its launch here in Malaysia. You can think of this as a mini version of the all-electric flagship EQS or as an EV Mercedes-Benz E-Class. So should this be your next Mercedes-Benz? Let's find out together. Let's start off with the price. This is available in a single spec EQE350 Plus, and this goes for 420,000 ringgit here in Malaysia. Now that is just slightly more than the top Mercedes-Benz E-Class, but in the EV market I think that is relatively competitive. It's significantly cheaper than the 700,000 ringgit EQS, and even compared to its rivals, despite this being clearly much bigger, much more luxurious than the BMW i4, it's around the same price range here in Malaysia. Now obviously this isn't exactly a cheap car, but then again it's also a Mercedes-Benz. You shouldn't expect Mercedes-Benz to be affordable, let alone cheap. With this, Mercedes-Benz Malaysia now has the widest EV range here in the market. This is now the 5th model overall after the EQA, EQB, EQC, and of course the flagship EQS. MBM has even confirmed that more SUV models as well as AMGs will be coming to Malaysia sometime soon, together with the possibility of CKD local assembly as well. So stay tuned for all those announcements here on poltan.org. But back to the car itself, this is available in a single variant, the EQE350 Plus, and that brings with it a 90 kilowatt-hour battery, pretty big for this car's size. Mercedes-Benz claims that on the WLTP cycle, which is more realistic than the NEDC that a lot of other brands have been talking up recently, this car can go up to 669 kilometers from 100% of battery charge. That is super impressive. It's not quite the near 800 range from the much bigger EQS, of course, but for a car that is significantly cheaper, I think that's pretty good. Now on to charging, this has an onboard AC charger rated at 11 kilowatts, so going from 0 to 80 or 90% will take you between 8 to 9 hours. As for DC charging, this has a maximum rate of 170 kilowatts, so using one of those fast DCFCs here in Malaysia, you can go from 0 to 80% in just about over 30 minutes. That's plenty fast enough, I think. As for performance, this car has a single electric motor powering the rear wheels. This is rated at 292 horsepower and 565 Newton meters of torque. So this car can go from 0 to 100 in just 6.4 seconds. Now that's not exactly all that quick, especially if you're comparing it against Teslas and whatnot, but that's what the AMG EQs are for. Now let's move on to the EQE's most defining feature, its looks. This is clearly based on the EQS. It's got the same platform, it's got the same overall silhouette and shape as well, but the details are actually quite different for this EQE. I think if you were to park the car side by side, it's very, very clear which one's the bigger one, which one's the smaller version. One thing that's very interesting about the car is that this is now the only EQ model that goes without the center line that joins the two headlights. Now that was supposed to be the signature look of EQ models, but I guess the designers missed that memo for this one. But having said that, this is still a very unique, very stylish looking car. The whole front face just screams EV and more importantly EQ, despite the fact that this car gets the very standard fully plain black grille instead of the optional one with the illuminated stars all over it. That is available on the EQS but not on the EQE. I guess it's understandable Mercedes-Benz wanted to make the two cars look different from each other. The lights, for instance, may have the super advanced digital light system as on the S-Class and the EQS, but the EQE has its own very intricate signature look. If you look up close, there's a full row of three-pointed star pattern on it that looks pretty cool. On the side, this car rides on 19-inch AMG Aero wheels, and the small hole cutouts on the side sort of remind me of original AMG monoblocks. I think that's pretty cool as well. But one thing I definitely don't like is the large panel gap around the clamshell bonnet over here. Now, I've been assured by Mercedes-Benz that this is how it's supposed to look. That is not a defect on this car, but yeah, I think Mercedes-Benz is trying to emulate Tesla a little bit too much with this one. Now around the back, it looks virtually identical to the larger EQS. It's got the same lighting layout and signature lighting, but I guess that's not such a bad thing, looking nearly the same as your flagship model now, is it? Moving on inside, it's a bit of a surprise because this car does not get the all-singing, all-dancing wide hyper screen system that's on the EQS. Instead, we just get this smaller vertical screen that doesn't look anywhere near as advanced or as impressive. Now, I've been told by MBM that this is not a matter of them leaving it out of the spec sheet for Malaysia. It simply wasn't available for our market. The same goes for a few things that are not available on this car as well. The fact that this does not have a panoramic sunroof or even an airmatic air suspension system, it's all down to all those items not being made available to our market right here. The last thing, the lack of air suspension, is a bit of a worry for me because we all know EVs are extremely heavy and the best ones always ride on either active suspension or even air suspension. The fact that this rides on passive springs and dampers, yeah, I can't wait to drive it to see whether it's going to be any good or not. But back to the screen itself, this is still a very, very good screen. This is the OLED screen that's from the S-Class instead of on the C-Class. So it looks very sharp, it looks very clear, and the MBUX interface is still as good as ever. It's just, yeah, not as impressive as a hyper screen. Adding some glitz and glamour back into the cabin are all these three-pointed stars scattered across the dashboard. I think that looks pretty classy. The rest of the car is pretty well appointed. Like the EQS, the top half of the dashboard is completely covered by this nice feeling nubuck material. I think it looks and feels extremely premium. And then further down, this whole piece is now covered in Alcantara, down to the right side as well. It looks pretty sporty at that. One thing I don't really like is this black center piece over here. You just know it's going to attract some fingerprints and scratches later on. It's not quite plain gloss black, there's a bit of a texture to it, but yeah, it's just slightly better than plain gloss black. I would much rather this be finished in wood or metal or something. This car does get a full AMG line steering wheel, which is missing on the EQS. Other than that, you've got a few fancy bits that you've come to expect from a top-end Mercedes-Benz. You've got this really cool side aircon vents that are made to look like jet turbines, plus a proper premium Burmester 3D sound system. As for the back here, this car is more E-Class than S-Class. Legroom is generous as you can see, but it's not exactly amazing. And as for headroom, if I were to sit up straight, my hair is about an inch away from touching the roof. I am only 167 centimeters tall. If I were any taller, then yeah, you might have to graze the top of the roof a little bit. Not fantastic for rear seats. However, having said that, the seats are actually pretty decent. They are very comfortable, and despite the base being a little bit shorter than I want to because my thighs are a bit hanging off here, but sitting in the back, I think is going to be fairly comfortable for even longer journeys. The ride quality is going to be the acid test for the EQE, so look forward for our full review of this car coming soon. As for boot space, the EQE only has a 430-litre load space. That's around 100 litres less than a regular E-Class. But on the bright side, you do get electronic release buttons to fold the rear seats if you need more space. So that's an early look at the all-new, all-electric Mercedes-Benz EQE here in Malaysia. What do you think of the car's looks, specs and pricing? Let me know in the comment section below. For now, thank you for watching and stay safe everyone.